All right. Well, welcome to today's webinar. When I was going through webinar topics to have, I was like, well, let's just reuse what we titled we used last year. So, and Paul was a part of that webinar about 12 months ago here with us too. It's just really about maximizing profitability. We did one for 2022, and it's a brand new year. We're a quarter the way through with this year already, which is crazy to think about. So hey, let's talk about really maximizing profitability, but like what strategies we can use to scale our business in 2023. We find ourselves in a different predicament than we did a year ago here with economy and all these different pieces that are on the weighing in our on companies. So yeah, well, it's gonna be a fun topic here for us today. So again, feel free to ask questions as we go along. But I'm Sean Conners. I'm CEO of Contractor Appointments. We do lead generation on a performance basis, so all revenue share. We just share in the revenues with you. But I'm joined here today with Paul Burleson. Paul, without further ado, you tell us a little about yourself.
Absolutely. So I've been a very fortunate individual to have been in this industry for 40 years. To my knowledge, that I've been told, and as I know, I'm still the youngest person ever canvassing for a home improvement industry at 12 years old, and never been out of the industry 1 week since then. So with that, I've worked for every major manufacturer, training their sales teams and their customers from Reynolds Aluminum to Owens Corning to Alcoa, to Supply Jim Cornerstone, and then been as a consultant for Westlake Royal Building Products, which was Royal, and then before that, Crane. So I've had the opportunity to train every single major organization in our industry. I've been a disruptive technology guy since 2000 when I made my first website. And then I've been able to continue. I think I had my first YouTube testimonial in 2006. And then I went on to be a very big advocate in remote virtual selling. I was virtual for virtual was cool. So I was doing it 3 years before COVID and trying to be an innovator. And now I've kind of escalated that technology and doing everything I can to be an expert specialist in AI and how that's going to change the industry and the world that we live in. So all that to say that I have a pretty good understanding of our business, and getting to work with 225 of the top remodelers in the world, I'll learn what works for them, and I've been able to create some information that I look forward to sharing with the audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's honestly, that's how we got introduced here too, is through a partner. About back in 2020, all the stuff with in-home sales, going like, holy crap, what are we going to do? So you were way ahead of that game and doing virtual sales, and we're a huge help to companies at that juncture in time here too, which I think still is part of the future that is still coming to fruition here in an expectation for homeowners. But let's just dive into the questions here for today. So what the first question I had on our list here is what measures are companies taking to maintain profitability and profitable margins in 2023? So obviously economy, all these things are weighing, but companies are wanting to scale as well. So what are you saying that really successful companies you're working with are doing to kind of protect margins, but also kind of scale in this year over others?
That's a great question, and I've prepared some great answers for you. But I think the most important thing, Sean, that people got to understand, what does the word scale mean? People say, we got to scale this, we got to scale that. It's a word, but what is the meaning behind the word? Well, what it basically means is pretty simple. It's a plan to increase sales with the utmost efficiency. So to scale your business is to grow your business, but to do it effectively and efficiently, because if you're spending more money to grow, growth doesn't always equal profit, and profit doesn't always equal growth. So the key things that I think are very important is automation. How can you streamline the automation process in your company? When you're not there, who's answering the phone? Don't miss those leads. Do you have somebody who can set appointments? Sometimes there's companies who are utilizing, CRM programs and different things. But automation is a key part to prepare for the future. Customer service. It's so important. You got to treat people the way that you want to be treated. when you grow and scale your business, a lot of times you lose that customer service experience because you're used to doing business at X. Now you're at Y. But your customer service model doesn't always follow that. And when it doesn't follow that, that's when the business fails, right? You take 2 steps forward and 1 back. You can win the battle and lose the war. You've got to always maintain the high integrity in your customer service level. And you got to coach, you got to train, you got to get the right people. And the key thing, one of the key things that I always go back to, you got to hire the right people. Hire the right person and fit the skill. Let me say that again. Hire the right person and then fit the skill to match to that right person. That's the problem today is people want to go through a resume and hire somebody that has a skill set, but they don't work well together in a team, or they're not interactive, or they're not good communicators. By not hiring the right people, you're really setting your business on a path to destruction because not everybody is sharing that same vision that you have. You know, you really need the KPI, the key personality performance indicators. Like if this isn't somebody you would go down and have lunch, dinner, or margarita with, then maybe you don't need to hire them. If they don't see your vision, if they don't have your passion, if they don't buy into things the way you do, then that's the problem. So you got to look for these telltale signs. Increase marketing budget. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think that just to kind of reiterate on what you just said there, I think the big thing is like you're talking about automation being a huge portion of that. Any ability to scale whatsoever, you need automation, you need systems in place to be able to duplicate. And I'm curious your thoughts on that because you're talking about hiring, but if you just hire people without any system that they're actually following, then like, or you hire them to create a system. And like, I've seen so many companies try to build their business from like themselves to like hire 4 more people to hire. And then they go, they don't know where to go. Like they can scale the number of people on their team without actually creating any systems to help take care of the customers. They're just expecting everyone to be be like them and just to be another version of themselves. So like, I don't know if you see the same thing as people grow, they're looking at people to solve problems.
The number one strategy that I was going to recommend is you have to create, you must have read my notes, you have to create the proper systems and the processes. You've got to create the system. It's got to be repeatable. It's got to be manageable. They have to understand the vision and the process. And that ties into everything. That system and process it ties into presentations like an Engage presentation tool. It ties into, every single aspect of being able to involve technology, virtual selling, how does that system and that process, fall into play? But it's got to be a consistent, repeatable message. And that's the problem is you may have an infrastructure, but when you grew, you may outgrew that infrastructure or the business environment has changed your systems and processes. For example, for years, all sales were done knock on the door 4 to 6 hours in the home. But now it doesn't work like that. Referrals used to be a big stack of phone numbers and addresses, and you could say, Mr. Jones, calling these numbers. These were happy customers of mine. Now they go to Google Maps. Now they go to, Angie's and all these different database resources to verify. Because what it comes really down to is we're in a world that's driven by social proof. I cannot emphasize that enough. What's Instagram? What's TikTok? What's Facebook? What's Snapchat? What's Twitter? All these tools are designed to create attention, basically, for you, but it's all about social proof. So if I read the guy's got 150 reviews, oh, this is a great company. If I go to Instagram, he's got all these pictures of his business things. So the credibility is established, and I don't even have to talk to the person, but that social proof, the systems and the processes within that, and I can spend a whole nother 5 minutes talking about technology and where people, like I'm worried about artificial intelligence. There's people who still don't even have a website, right?
Yep.
They don't even have a website. And just because you have a website doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It's like a Mercedes-Benz with no engine in it. How do you drive it? How do you SEO? What are the algorithms? All these Facebook audits and things now. Google's changing the way everything's changing. But there are so many sources to market. You know, if you use the Waze app when you travel, you can now market to people through the Waze app. Next door marketing, you can specifically narrow down and market into neighborhoods. You know, all these different things. But where people are really missing the boat is they're focusing on trying to buy more leads, buy more leads. You go through this, right? Well, okay, but what are you doing with that lead? You know, are you calling up and they say no? That's when it starts, right? So you got to have a process on how to handle that lead. You know, do you virtually set an appointment up, or what is your process? But people are missing opportunities because they're really not playing the situation correct when it comes to lead management.
Yeah, well, I think what I'm kind of hearing you say, I go, how do companies maintain their margins at scale? How do they build a company that can scale? Is you need to have the right systems in place. You need to have those things documented, your operational procedures. I think one thing that I hear time and time again as companies scale is they add an additional person to the team and they hope that they'll just kind of pick up on the how things are done. So sales in this industry is very like regimented. We've got the sales system, you follow the sales system, but other parts of the business often don't have the same like level of like, this is the guardrails, this is what we do, this is the procedure that we do in this area in marketing, and we don't differ from that. You know, I think that the systems and processes you can put in every single area of the business that you can, that's the only way you can successfully scale, is because you've actually put a budget into every dollar that comes in the door. What percentage is going out into marketing? What's your marketing budget? How do you able to, you know, staff that, and what your expectations are for the people who are dialing the leads, your system of how you're going to process every single lead and every single channel. And as you grow, you have to have more processes and sub processes to manage all those different, you know, things as you grow. So I think that, like, you know, I think even as growing a business, you know, myself, is like it's all those minute little, like, it's never fun to go into the details or the weeds or write all this stuff down, right? But it's
Right.
so necessary in the process here to be able to write it down. If you do it twice, you write it down. If you do it 3 times, you find a way to automate it. That's kind of my rule. It's like, if
Yeah.
that's the way
And,
you can.
and you're right. And I think the biggest thing that people will miss on leads, we want to spend the average cost $460 for a good lead in the home improvement industry. But what about the customers that you made happy before? How are you capturing those customers? Are you asking for a testimonial? Are you asking to be networked, take that testimonial and networking on their Facebook and all their different social media platforms and your tech stack? We pass up so many opportunities where people are captive and they're happy and they want to do business and they want to tell everybody, right? The 3 type of communications in the world: television, telephone, and tell a woman. I mean, so they want to communicate and share. Let them be a superstar and share about your company and your business. And the
Yeah.
key point I do not want to pass up on, and this is what I tell companies all the time: you got to pass the cost on to the customer. We have so much escalated costs and new technology, new formats, increase in building materials, increase in marketing costs. How do you pass that on to the customer? See, the price, right? A price is nothing if it's not tied to a value proposition. If the value proposition is high enough and you bring the sizzle in the presentation and you use a classic approach that I call expose and close, that I took from my good friend Charlie Chena, I expose the problems, I expose the need, and I close with a consultative selling approach. I'm selling the solution more than I am the product.
Yeah.
And by doing that, now I can generate more costs for my product. Why? Because my product is worth more, because it's not about what I call WITFM, the big radio station of life. It's not about what's in it for me. It's what's in it for them. But I'm going to make your home healthy again. And using that approach really ties into scaling your business. And you got to pass on those costs. Everything is a function of price. Every aspect of your business is a function of price. And you got to be on the leading edge, and you cannot operate on the bleeding edge.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that I think, just to your point there too, is like people ask about what's a differentiation. Like, this is a, like, wow, I'm in a market that's really saturated. There's a million other roofing companies or window companies or bath companies in my market. One of your clearest differentiating factors that I still to this day feel like is the most powerful in a sales presentation is just sharing them that you have a process, sharing them that this is the, taking them through what, not only what you're going to do to their home and being able to take care of them there, but also sharing with them the systems and the process that you have once they've signed the paperwork and said, you walk in with a laminated sheet that says, this is the process. You're going to get a call. They're going to deliver it. They're going to install. You're going to be happy. You're going to write us a review. That's our process, or whatever that is, in 10 steps.
Absolutely.
That alone is like, having a system, having a process is half the battle that most companies don't do or don't even use as a differentiator in the home. People want to feel comfortable with someone's going to go, well, this isn't your first time doing this, and I don't just need to trust you. I can now trust this independent process that you've already perfected. Here too.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest things that I spend, with my training partner, Sal Vaccarino, that we do is we train people on preparation, planning, and execution as part of that process. I don't understand how somebody can go into a home, into an area that they don't know, one, what's the average, household income of that area. Because at any given night, I could be going into a neighborhood and writing a prescription for $80,000 to make the home healthy. And that $80,000 may represent the entire household income of that husband and wife. And in 4 hours, I can convince them. It's really like a magic show. I can convince them, or I try to convince them by actually identifying the needs, providing solutions, to give me every single nickel that they have worked for an entire year in a period of 3 to 4 hours. That's unbelievable, right? So they don't want to plan. They don't want to prepare. They don't want to train. What did we do before we got live? For 30 minutes, we were rehearsing. We were practicing. If you don't plan to fail, if you don't plan to succeed, you can plan to fail, right? People do not want to put in the work and the time and the preparation to be successful. And when you scale your processes and systems, that's why I like the Engage presentation tool. It's the systematic approach, step by step, through the process of how you present, when you talk about this, when you talk about that, and the flow, right? There's a systematic approach. And then you make the presentation following that system. But you have to plan. Like these magical stories of, Rudy just running on the football field for Notre Dame, or all these great stories you see on TV and movies. That's in the movies. It doesn't work like that in real life. If you don't put in the work and put in the effort, for 30 years, I was talking a lot about the same things I'm talking to you now, but my goal and dream was to be able to get on a bigger scale, to be able to do it on a seminar circuit. It took me 30 years to get to that level, but I still continued the systematic approach, the same processes, and did the same things over and over again until the timing was right. So I cannot stress enough, you have to plan and teach your people. Make your role playing more difficult than it is in the home. Make it so easy in the home based on how hard you did it in the office, that it's like there's no pressure, right? Yeah. Why would you want to practice in the home when you could practice in your office?
Yeah. So I think that is just taking that away. I think that there's so much more preparation and so much that as you grow and as you scale, the more necessity there is for systems and process and procedure to be pre-planned out. Because at the end of the day, the amount of waste for one person to go out there and be, as any new business is you're kind of trying everything on. But as soon as you found the thing that works and you get into a groove, you need to now document it and now to be able to duplicate it. And if you're not writing those procedures down, you're going to create chaos as you scale and grow. And as you scale and grow, every new level is going to require you to kind of backfill with writing down that process. And it's going to be hard. That's but I think the preparation is just so important. And the better we are prepared, the better we know the neighborhood we're going to go into and the demographics and who they are and why they purchase and what matters to them in that community. Is it just again just gives you that much more credibility than the people next to you. Your product doesn't have to be any better. You just prepared much better than the person before you.
And exactly. And you have to have focus. You have to have focus for your business. You have to streamline like a horse with the blinders on of exactly what you're going to accomplish, exactly what you're going to do. Yep. And you can't let the noise in the channel affect your process or your systems. It all comes back, to the process and systems and hiring the right people, having the right type of technology, and being able to understand change. Like, yep. If you don't change, you will die. I say that all the time because it's true. I mean, look at, it's funny. Look at why Amazon has actually started to affect the industry and buying behavior in a positive way for us. And I'll tell you why. Because people got so used to buying and never seeing people, people love that element of human interaction, the transfer of emotion. So what it's done to where it kind of hurt that sector of the business for a while, it's actually now making people want more people to come in the home. They want to be sold. They want to deal with real people. They want to touch things. They want to be tangible. They want to feel it. They want to understand the emotional part of the process. So what was a negative to us has now become a strength, right? So people can be successful. What you don't need to do is to listen to the social media people out there and all the people on TV telling you that we're in a recession, okay? Some of the best companies that I know, the biggest companies I know, when they thrive is in a recession. When you need to market is in a recession. When you need to advertise, it's in a recession. When everybody backs away and runs, you sprint forward.
Yep.
Right? Don't allow the negativity and the naysayers to affect your vision and your business and your growth because somebody thinks it's going to be something. What do you think it's going to be, and make that thought process a reality?
Yeah, 100%. Well, and if you have systems and processes in line, you've got, I think I've seen, I started back in the home improvement industry back in 2008. And like in the midst of that recession, and you see the big companies grow, and the companies, I've seen so many big companies grow from that point on. Yeah, I mean, some of our largest customers are planning opening up, near a dozen locations this year. So, regardless of recession or not, it's that you focus, you have a system, you have a process, you execute on it, and it. Again, you're minimizing your risk as you grow, and this is not a time to put your foot on the brake at all by any means. The next question I had for you, I'm super excited for you to answer, but it's just, what cutting edge technology are you seeing companies using in 2023? And I've got a follow up to that technology question, but I want to hear what are you seeing companies do right now in 2023 that's exciting.
So again, that's a two-part question. What a lot of companies are doing just to get caught up into where everything else has been is utilizing, different marketing strategies through technology. Companies like Socius, Doug Schatz and his team work with me all the time on helping create just social media strategies, the things that are easy for us. Where's the best place to spend your money, right? On the simple side, just getting understanding what a website is like and how it can work for you and how you tie everything together. How do you use YouTube testimonials? Those are basics that people aren't doing. But I'm going to tell you, every single spare minute that I have gone crazy understanding and getting involved with artificial intelligence. I attend every single show, every single conference. I was working with Sebastian Jimenez last night in Nashville with unbelievable technology for artificial intelligence. And it kind of scares people, right? But I was thinking back, if you think about it, Sean, artificial intelligence has been around for about 20 years. What's a video game? one of these sports, EA sports video games where they study the movements of a player, maybe a guy throwing a football, or make a wrestling game and the guy replicates all the moves he would do live in the ring. Is that not artificial intelligence? Are they not replicating, these characters talk back to each other and they react? But that's on a small scale. But artificial intelligence is going to change in these ways. Call centers. You're not going to even realize that you're dealing with, believe it or not, but an actual artificial intelligence created thing, being whatever you want to call it, right? Yep. Even on Spotify now, you've got your AI DJ who goes through all your playlists that you played for the past 10 years and songs and breaks them in categories and talks to you. Hey, you played this song 3 weeks ago twice, let's hear it again. But call centers is an important part. Outbound, how does this tie to virtualization? How does this tie to training? How does it tie to coaching? What's it look like from a webinar and training standpoint, where people can go and just pick what speakers they want to listen to and what topics they want to cover in a format and design their own personal webinar for themselves or for their companies? So how do you prepare? Well, first of all, you don't be scared. If you become scared and you're like, I don't know, I'll wait till everybody else does this, then I'll do it. That's not the way to look at it. Understand how it can work with you. How could you make it work for you? And you will see in the next 3 years, if you remember anything that I'm telling you, I promise you, on my 40 plus year reputation in this industry, artificial intelligence will change. Now, it could put me out of work. Well, hey, don't get put out of work. You get ahead of it and you make it work for you. But that is the biggest change. And then you see people drilling down, like you got all these different avenues, right? Facebook, next door marketing is becoming, a very popular way where people are kind of penetrating into the neighborhoods and everything. But you've got all these different pieces of the puzzle. What's your process? I'm going to tell you what happens to most companies. I hear this. I got so many leads coming in from Facebook or Instagram or this lead generation company. I can't answer them all. So what they do, they don't answer them. That negativity that they just created. Remember how I talked earlier about the customer service model? You grow, but the customer service doesn't follow it. That's a problem. Yeah. So when you build, you scale, you don't make it so big. Like I said, profit doesn't always equal growth, and growth doesn't equal profit. You can grow and not be profitable. Yeah. You can be profitable and not grow. So how do you find the right mix? I don't know if that answers your question, but I get on technology, I can talk all day.
Well, I think that I'm curious just specifically. I mean, you kind of touched before the start of the webinar here on some idea, how AI is already changing. We've kind of talked about it with a couple different people. I know at the Contractor Coach Pro, and they're using, some of that stuff to help coach salespeople in the home, and with Rilla technology. It's just absolutely fantastic, to be able to how do you be able to improve the sales presentation and sales process? And then there's other tools out there. I'm blanking on, like Balto, who are like little AI widgets over here for your call center. If you haven't looked at some of the technology for call centers that are out there that attach, just like, they don't even have to be associated with your dialing system. They just sit over here in the corner and did you ask them about if they're the homeowner? And it goes, yes. Oh, it checks the box for you. It's crazy. Like that, some of that stuff is just listening to the conversation in real time to improve the process, to make sure that the process is followed, because we're all human and we're not a bunch of automated people. So it's like we need the check boxes to go and oh, I did that. Oh, I did that. And I asked for the appointment. Some of that technology is super cool out there too. Any other things that you can think of that companies are using right now, that even sales, marketing, customer service, any of those pieces that that people maybe not heard of at this point here too?
Well, there's a lot of different things, and I'll share a tip that is the number one communication trend this year. Voice messages, like text to message, and you instead of texting, you leave a voice message. Mm-hmm. somebody real quick. You just hit the little button on the bottom. And here's why I think that is an effective way, not just for your sales team, but even for the customers, is we crave emotion, right? And sometimes text doesn't really say what you're saying, and it doesn't
Yeah.
with the enthusiasm. But those little voice message memos is one of the number one communication approaches that people are utilizing today. TikTok. I understand people have a lot of different opinions on TikTok, but look at what the solar industry did using testimonials and marketing with TikTok. How they can drill down to the algorithms and the psychographics and the demographics, and always try to find marketing angles that, like, if you go get a billboard on the side of the road, you're going to spend a lot of money and you're just going to sit back and wait like you're fishing on the side of a bank. But by using this newer technology, taking it to the market, people are like, well, people on TikTok are, they're under 25. That is not so. You would be surprised. The 45 to 55 and 65-year-old individuals are using TikTok. So utilize that. Instagram. All these different things. So here's what I understand. You've got all these formats that it's proven people are using. So why wouldn't you use them to market your company and business there? Because the average person is going to think like that. They're going to run a radio ad, which is a waste of money. They may do a television campaign, which can be effective. It's more of a reinforcement tool. They got to see it 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I got clients with $150,000, $200,000 budgets a month just for advertising, but they're missing out on the little next door marketing. If you do not understand what that is, you can literally narrow down a section of a community, and you can market specifically to, like, the Colonial Heights subdivision.
Yep.
We're in your area, by the way. We're working on Mrs. Jones' house. Just wanted to let you know, stop by and see me. It's going to be cold outside. I'll give 10% off the first person brings me a cup of coffee, right? The other thing, what people are not doing is they're not marketing effectively at shows. They think home improvement show. I show up and I put up my booth, and that's great. Well, first of all, if you're trying to sell home improvements, why are you going to a home improvement show? Why aren't you going to a bridal show? All these women are there. How many competitors do you have? 0. Why aren't you going to a gun show? While the husband's looking at guns, the wife needs to look at something and show her windows inside it. Why aren't you going to a car show? Why aren't you? And when you're there, what creative things are you doing? One of my favorite things that I tell people all the time for lead generation, that they actually sell these. It's the treasure chest promotion. It's a treasure chest, and it has 250 keys, right? So you put the treasure chest in your booth, and you put 250 keys at the front when people get in, and you have the registration people give the first 250 people a key. So they all line up to try their key. Well, in this box, you may have $500 off your services. So while they're all in line, you go by and say, hey, that could be the lucky key. If you won this, what project would you do? Yep. How hard is that? Or how about the guy that was smart enough to put a bouncy house outside the home show so the kids are there and he's talking to their wives? We've got to quit overthinking this process.
Yeah.
We've got to be more effective. And sitting down at a booth at a show, no, it's got to be open. You got to interact. You got to talk. You got to make it fun. It's got to be exciting.
Yep.
Those are some of the most important things that people can do for their business that will immediately get them an increase. And it's a lot cheaper to set up a home improvement booth at a bridal show than it is at a home show. And what little things are you doing to attract? One of the most simplest things, have a little duck pond, like a little kiddie pool, and have ducks floating around, right? And there with numbers, and then have people, pull up a duck and win a prize, go to the dollar store and get it. But you got to make it fun. You got to make it's a sell without the sell. Sorry, I got excited again.
No, I think I love that. It was funny. We did another with Chris or at Tony Hody's organization and talked about the treasure chest being a really good idea. So reinforces the treasure chest and the booth side of things. But I love the bouncy house thing too. It's like I can think of so many outdoor activities and and events that happen throughout the summer that are not home improvement related, that if you had a free bouncy house, you would be the, like, put your brand and your sign on top of that thing. And like, you'd have kids in the lined up, and you get, the parents are doing what? Standing right outside, and great opportunity to have a conversation, hand them something, give out something to them. I think there's so many creative ways, just like you said in home shows, that people are giving away free, a $2 pen that they went, it's like, oh, or a magnet or whatever it is. Get creative, give them a gift card to the local coffee shop, figure out some way to be able to kind of co-brand or figure some things out there that are actually providing value to people. They're just thinking a little outside the box. So I love that. I think events are like, that's huge. That's obviously it's time and attention. It's hard to scale because it takes human capital to do some of those things. But I love that. And it's not like cutting edge technology. That's just like, being a little creative with what you do from an event strategy. So I absolutely love that.
Right.
So,
And, you got to find your niche. And what I did years ago in the manufacturing, I can go in every day and I can talk about product, or I can go and teach these people how to be successful, how to manage, a social media campaign. And one of the most important things that I didn't get into that companies have to do to scale their growth and profit is adding financing.
Yeah.
Everything is being financed now. I don't care. You say what the rates are. I know all the stuff going on in Silicon Valley deal. I know all about that. But people are financing deals today.
Yeah.
They are. And it's a simple process because we actually have people, what we do, and part of the partnership with Westlake Royal Pros, we actually have a partnership with Pure Finance. And we go in and we consult and train the people on how to talk to their customers, and then train their customers on how to talk to the homeowners, the systems, the process. Here we go back to processes again. How do you answer questions? How do you explain it simple without being complicated? But if you're not adding financing, you're missing out on unbelievable amount of profit. Because if they don't buy from you because you don't have financing, they're going to buy from somebody else that has financing.
Yep.
So I think it's important. And again, some of these things may seem simple, but there's no Band-Aid solution to making a company healthy. You gotta roll the shopping cart around and put everything in it. That's the right mix for you to make your business successful. What worked for this guy is not going to work for that guy because his market's different. His education levels of people are different. You have to really drill down, create the processes, create the systems. You got to hire the right people. Again, hire the right person, fit the skill. Hire the right person, fit the skill. Make sure it's people that mirror you and your belief systems and those of your companies.
Yeah, 100%. I think you kind of answered the next question I had for you, was just some other valuable ways that people can market and stay top of mind to consumers here too. I think both with the financing side of things, I think it is super interesting how when it comes to marketing and when it comes to even think about home shows, like, if you're not using financing in your marketing, you're missing out. Of people think, and they have a perception, it's like, well, I don't have that much money, or I don't want to part with that much money. And therefore you might only be talking to the people that are at the point that they're actually looking at replacing the roof or new windows and have the money, or think they have the money for your project. Where if you actually started saying we offer financing for that, and I think HVAC companies have started to do this really well, and going like, you can get a new heating system for as low as $69 a month. It goes, oh, it's okay, that I can afford that. If you go, I can get new windows for as low as $150 a month. You go, oh, I was putting off that project, and no, I can, and then you're not price comparing as much either, because you're talking about financing costs instead of big dollar amounts that you're doing it. If you're not pitching financing along with that price, you're missing out on a lot of business there too. I'm curious, Paul, with financing companies, you mentioned that, like, they are cracking down a little bit. They don't finance. Not everyone can get approved for financing. Anything that you found is kind of creative ways to get people money, other than kind of the main kind of creditors and
Well,
credits.
the biggest concern there is the worst thing you want to do is try to tee up somebody for financing and not be able to finance them, because now they're embarrassed, right? So I think research the key factors. You could pretty much, when you're at home, kind of get an idea by asking questions, like, so you own your home. How long have you owned your home? I love that car out there. Is that new, or have you had that? Trying to identify key factors.
Yeah.
I really believe you got to ask a lot of the right questions. And it's just important because there are companies, that have better terms, or, they'll buy, second, they call them second looks. Pure Finance is probably one of and listen, I've talked to all of them, but what makes them successful is the education and the training. It's all kind of similar, but it's the process of how they do it. So I think that's important. And one of the other key technological things that I am a firm believer I live and die by is my One Tap Connect card. This card allows me, I'm sitting here outside Nashville, Tennessee, but if I put this up to the screen and people take a picture of that, then they will absolutely download every single piece of information about me. It has my complete microsite. I have my website, I have my LinkedIn, I have my Twitter, I have my Instagram, I have my Facebook, I have testimonials, I have pictures, I have reviews, I've got my Snapchat. My entire life is one scan away, right? So when you're communicating with people at a home show, business cards are trash. You start throwing out business cards, you lose them. But when I tap your phone, I literally can take this phone just like this right here. I'll show you how it works. Boom. So I open it up and I tap the phone, put it on the back or the front, and it pulls up immediately my entire Facebook site, my microsite, everything I have. And then real cool part about it is, what if you're doing virtual trainings or virtual consultings or virtual selling, and you want to transfer information to people? And Mr. Jones, you haven't met me. If you'll scan this, and then they'll scan it, this is all my information. Here's testimonials from customers just like you. There's pictures of jobs that I've done. Here's reviews about me. And then here's all the information, websites, and all the stuff for BB ratings and all that. So using technology like this, even though this is simple, this absolutely changes the way you communicate and connect with people. I utilize it all the time. I tap their phone. It's a more memorable experience.
Yeah.
When you do this, right? Versus here's my business card and they throw it in the garbage. So
yeah, we're losing.
So much technology out there. You get me fired up and I can go forever, but it's all about, it's got to turn to dollars. If it doesn't turn to dollars, doesn't make sense, it's not good sense. So it's got to make lots of dollars and lots of cents.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, awesome. I so appreciate you obviously reaching out and being able to be on this webinar here with us today. How can anyone reach you? How can we get in touch with you? Obviously, you just gave us your QR code. If you didn't scan that already, what's the best way we can reach you? So if you want to reach out and honor Paul and ask him questions specifically, or learn more about what he does, the training he does on a regular basis here, I definitely encourage you to scan that code there, just with your phone's camera there, and pull up everything. But
so I can be reached. Yeah, I can be reached through LinkedIn. I have over 15,000 connections on LinkedIn. You can find me there. I do work for Westlake Royal Building Products. Any territory manager that you have out there selling products from Boral to Versetta Stone to Royal to Exterior Portfolio to Select to Cedar Redemptions to Columns to PVC Trim, they all know me. They all know how to get a hold of me. You can reach me directly through there. Listen, I only sleep about 4 hours a day, and that's usually from 1 to 5. So if you need help, if you have questions, I have a great staff. Sal Vaccarino is on board with me. He's one of the greatest sales trainers, and his strengths are like mine but different than mine. So we can cover things differently. But we have an entire team of people, and there is no cost if you are a customer of Westlake Royal Building Products. There's no bait and hook. Like I give you this, you got to buy this. There's no cost. We're investing in the business with my coaching, consulting, and training. You don't have to pay $80,000, $90,000 a year. You don't have to go spend $2,000 to go to a webinar, seminar. If you just do business with Westlake Rural Building Products, you get these services absolutely 100% for free.
Well, I would encourage any of you guys to to use that resource. Paul is a wealth of knowledge, and obviously been in the industry for a long time, and probably can answer any issues or questions you're running into from sales to marketing, and just like again, Paul, I so honored that you're willing to share with us here today and give us some tips and tools and tricks here. It's been
Always.
A pleasure as usual here as well. So. Again, just a general reminder for everybody, we'll reach out to Paul on LinkedIn here, get in touch with him any way you possibly can to help your business succeed. With all that being said, thank you so much, Paul, for your time today. And thank you everyone for jumping on here and joining us today. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the day.